Liverpool, home of Liverpudlians.
You know what I like about Liverpool, Mr. Sutcliffe?
Now, what is it you like about Liverpool, Mr. Lennon?
I was hoping you'd tell me.
All right, we're talking Backbeat. Are we talking the film, the soundtrack? We don't know yet. We're going to figure it out. As they said in Hamburg. Actually, I don't know how do you say 3 in German, TJ?
I got it. As they say in Hamburg, see, leap, dich.
Untitled Beatles podcast.
Hello, I am Glücklich.
And I'm Fro. And we talk about the Beatles.
Das Beatles. Oh, here is the German hi-hat intro to All My Loving.
Close your eyes and I'll kiss you. Tomorrow I'll miss you.
Efficient.
This one runs better on time. I love German people. You're the last bastion of democracy. If my father was still alive, he would have argued with that opinion in the 80s.
Right, but it's not the 80s anymore. It's
not the 80s anymore.
No, that's for sure. I mean, it's a little bit the 80s. All the shitty things from the 80s are back full force.
The bad parts.
Yeah.
Right.
Welcome to the 80s.
Who invited you?
I'm new here.
Just what we need, another pussy.
What are you looking at, butthead?
What are you looking at, nerd? Forget it, dork.
Dork. Goddamn geek. Freak.
Goddamn nerds.
Here we are, TJ. We're going to talk about Backbeat. Remember that? Remember Backbeat? It's a movie.
Just a few years after the 80s, Tony, released 14 years after the murder of John Lennon.
Yeah, God, that's it, huh?
Crazy, isn't it, to think of it that way? That was 94. The world was so different in 94, Tony, and one of the things I can't, because spoilers, Tony and I don't pregame. We don't talk about what we're going to talk about. We do the old radio adage of save it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Tony's opinion's going to be on this film, but if you keep listening, you're going to get it. We'll be right back after this.
This is the Austin J4 minibus, the Beatles touring van from 1960 to 1962, and you're listening to the Untitled Beatles podcast.
Yeah, we will talk about the film, but TJ, I wanted to say, like and subscribe. Let's do the housekeeping. If you like us, write a kind review, give us the stars. We'll give you some stars in our hearts. That's how we do it. We have a Patreon. You can sign up and you can join our Discord. We have a jumble of people that are in the Discord, and it's all a jolly Beatle fab time, huh?
Have a holly jolly fab time, but keep politics out of it. That's why I took a break for a few days. But I'm back, Tony. I'm back on the Discord.
Yeah.
And lovely, nice people. We're sharing interesting thoughts. I love this. They're talking about cover or other bands, not cover. We should have a cover band section.
Oh, cover bands.
Who do you take in a fight? Rain, El Grupo Rain, or
El Grupo Rain?
El Grupo Rain.
El Cuatro Fabuloso. Is it the Fab Four?
The Fab Four, right? Like as in... how do you say fake in Espanol? I forget.
La banda se llamaría Los Fabulosos Falsos. Repite, por favor. Los Fabulosos Falsos.
Los Fabulosos Falsos.
Los Fabulosos Falsos tocan Rain mejor que el grupo Rain.
So join us there, TJ. I have some. I have a self plug. I never do this, but I'm gonna do it.
Plug yourself.
I haven't released new music. I don't think since we've been doing this broadcast, and I have a new record coming out.
What?
Yeah, it's a solo album. It's the first Tony Mendoza solo album. It's simply called Mendoza, all caps. I stole that from Beyonce, TJ. I am my generation's Beyonce. I am the Gen X Beyonce. I'm putting out a party record for people who hate parties, and the lead single drops Friday, June 27th. It may have already dropped by the time this airs, but give it a spin. It's on all the streaming services. It's called Dealer Plates.
Well, let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go. We got dealer plates. Let's drive. Kiss the lives we lead goodbye. We got dealer plates. We're gonna see
Mint 400 Records. The artist name is Mendoza. The song is Dealer Plates, DLRPL8S. And thank you.
Tony, first off, congratulations to you. That's amazing. Are you going to release this in like limited batch vinyl?
So, TJ, I want to. I do. I have a billion of my product sitting in boxes in my home that take up all the closet space, and I don't really do live things anymore, and no one buys this. And when someone tries to buy a 7-inch, like from Canada on my Bandcamp, like the shipping costs are like $30. I can't charge somebody $40 for a 7-inch.
Spiral, downward spiral, downward spiral, downward spiral.
Tony, but for real, why don't we sell those CDs at Beatle Fest? The Fest for Beatle fans in Chicago, which Tony and I are both going to.
Right.
And if you show up, I'll sell you a Tony 45 and I'll take 10%. And America wins.
Yeah. All right. Maybe I'll bring some over. We will be at Beatle Fest again this year.
You have to.
I know. I always forget. I'm not, I'm an artist. I'm not a fucking promoter. Okay. So fuck all that shit.
Listen. I'm Paul. What did Yoko say? You're Mozart and I'm Paul. I'm Salieri.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. I'm Waldorf. And you're
Astoria.
Astoria. All right, let's talk about this film, man.
Yes.
Backbeat. This is an independent film. So, TJ, did you see this in the theater? Did you rent it on VHS? How did you see this?
First time I saw this was rented on VHS. I rented it once and I copied it, but never watched it. It was like archived.
So, yeah, I have no recollection of seeing this movie in the theater. I'm pretty sure I didn't. I would have been in Palm Springs, the Coachella Valley, when this was released, and I don't know if it made it to the art house. It was an indie film. My brain, I thought maybe I rented it, that following year or whenever it came out. But in watching it, or so I thought rewatching it, I have no recollection of this movie.
Really?
At all. Yeah, I don't remember it. So I don't think I actually ever did see it.
Wow, Tony Mendoza off the island. Maybe
Again.
After the first 4 parts of Anthology, and I fucking hate the late stuff. It's probably the most important Beatle film. So to have just seen it, a lot of the Reddit shit's right. You don't give a fuck.
It's true. I mean, that's why I don't go on Reddit, or that's why I have a very low footprint on the social media. I'm afraid of what they're saying to me because it's the truth.
It's all the truth.
I've never seen Backbeat. I can stand and say that amongst you, my friends, and I'm going to watch this movie every day for the rest of my life to make it up to you.
That's your penance, Tony's. And I'm going to watch Nowhere Boy every day for the rest of my life.
Now, that one I have not seen, so all right.
I saw that one in theaters.
Yeah, and that's like 2000, right?
I think 09, maybe Nowhere Boy or ish.
Okay.
But yeah, Tony, I did see this film. There were definitely moments I remembered. Let me frame it thusly. The soundtrack to me, the soundtrack to Backbeat in my 20 to 21-year-old brain was as grunge as Nevermind.
Yeah?
The Backbeat soundtrack was first Pearl Jam album's all right, but this soundtrack, oh boy. So
they finally got it right, those grunge guys.
Like, I'm a grunger. Well, they're doing Long Tall Sally.
Yeah, the Backbeat Band, we'll get to those guys, but yeah, it was made up of basically alternative rock all-stars. It is an all-star band, if you will.
I have the most expensive item for my collection, Tony. This is my original Backbeat CD from 94.
Oh, so you have it. Wow.
I played tracks from it on my radio show in college.
That is amazing.
It's got gross 90s TJ finger smudge.
Remember when you clean a CD, it's not like a record. You have to go from, the center out.
What do you mean?
You know how when you clean a record, you go with the grooves, like in a circumference? When you clean a CD, you're supposed to start in the center of the CD and go, straight out to like a radius or whatever.
CDs and DVDs are real sensitive to fingerprints, especially DVDs. I'll start out with a very soft cloth. I bought this especially for cleaning CDs and DVDs. And I'm going to clean the disc from the inside out. And this will clean off all the smudges and fingerprints that might be on the disc, and it'll allow the disc to play properly once again.
Is that how you clean your CDs for real?
Yes.
Okay, we used to put them, I would just put a whole rack in the dishwasher.
Well, I would clean it by hanging it up on my rearview mirror in my car, which I never understood because it blinds. Anyway.
Can't drive with Travis Tritt in your eyes, can you, Lib? Yeah. So, Tony, I have loved and also mocked the soundtrack since '94. I've loved it through the years. I get that a lot of it is kind of rough, but the spirit behind it, the way it was done, yes, I will be honest, I'm a Backbeat soundtrack apologist since, first term Clinton.
Yes, exactly. Well, let's talk about the soundtrack. Let's save that for our next episode, and we'll go track by track on all those.
I'm busy. Pete Three Nuts will join you.
Oh.
Dave, Pirner, necesita lavar la ropa con más frecuencia. Huele mal.
Pete Three Nuts does not care for Dave Pirner all that much, so you're going to get a biased opinions.
Still better than what I'm about to say about Mike Mills. I'd rather have Stu Sutcliffe playing bass.
Wait, I thought it was just Stipe. Now you got it in for Mike Mills?
No, he's great in this. In fact, he's part of the problem. He's so good that
he's
like,
too good.
What's the problem? Why would you get rid of Stu Sutcliffe? He's the best player in the band.
Well, that one time he saw Astrid, he fumbled the ending.
And the mix goes up like the bass. Okay, push the bass to 80%. It's clipping. I don't care. Clip it.
Yeah. Okay. Backbeat. It was an independent film released in the UK April 1st, 1994 on one screen, then expanded to 211 screens. April 15th was its US release, and it was shot all over Liverpool, Hamburg, and London. Directed by Ian Softly, written by Ian Softly, Michael Thomas, and Stephen Ward. Polygram Film Entertainment put it out under the umbrella of Polydor.
Yeah.
So that's how they were able to use some of those Polydor logos and all that.
Songs from when they recorded for Polydor.
They actually used the My Bonnie, if I recall, right? When they're doing the My Bonnie montage, we'll call that.
You're serious about this, aren't you?
Of course. I'm German.
I should have known.
My bonnie lies over the ocean. My bonnie lies over the sea.
They used the original recordings.
With a great Tony Sheridan impersonator. That guy should have done bar mitzvah. Who's at your bar mitzvah? Oh, we got a Tony Sheridan impersonator.
By the way, his name is James Doherty. So if you're looking for Tony Sheridan impersonators, reach out to the number one Tony Sheridan impersonator in the UK, James Doherty.
Hey, Tony, I'm sorry. Who wrote and what was the name of the guy who he co-wrote and directed it to?
Oh, Ian Softly.
Yeah, when the reviews came out, he kept saying, guys, this is killing me.
Why is that?
Well, after because
I'm passing it back to you.
Don't make me walk around the clock. Let's just keep killing me softly.
Oh!
Strumming my pain with his fingers.
Let's hear two taglines from this film. Backbeat. TJ, he had to choose between his best friend, the woman he loved, and the greatest rock and roll band in the world.
No.
Okay, you don't like that one. Okay, how about this one? I like this one a little bit better. 5 guys, 4 legends, 3 lovers, 2 friends, 1 band.
5 guys, 1 burger, 1 milkshake, 2 diabetes.
0 vehicles. Dude, Where's My Car? Starring Sam Mendes as the Beatles.
Featuring Sam Mendes as Sergio Mendes.
What was Brazil like in 64, huh? Probably like the Beatles playing grunge music. 5 guys, 4 legends, 3 lovers, 2 friends. All right, the lead role goes to Stephen Dorff, who plays Stu Sutcliffe. You might know Stephen Dorff. He was currently in Righteous Gemstones, also Different Strokes, Family Ties, and the Limp Bizkit video for Roland Air Raid Vehicle.
That's how I know him.
Where's the valet?
Yo, Red Cap. Watch it for me.
Don't scratch it.
All right, partner. Keep on rolling, baby. You know what time it is.
Astrid Kirchherr is portrayed by Cheryl Lee.
This is weird. I know time goes by, but I watch Abbott Elementary a lot. And this, I don't know what happened to Cheryl Lee when she got married and became Cheryl Lee Ralph.
What in the earth, wind, and fire is going on here?
And Tony, that's for people who say our bits aren't current. That's from Abbott Elementary, an ABC sitcom from like 07.
Yeah.
So don't look at me and tell me my bits aren't current.
Yeah, and I referenced Righteous Gemstones and Different Strokes.
Yeah.
I can walk and chew gum at the same time.
I'm patting my belly and rubbing where hair used to be. Everywhere.
Well, TJ, the Cheryl Lee I know was actually Laura Palmer in Twin Peaks. That's who that is.
A lot of Twin Peaks in this film.
I tell you what, yes, that was one of my notes. One of my overall notes is that you get to see, here, I wrote it down because I was counting, over 475 pairs of breasts in this film.
It is the boobiest film in Beatle history.
That it is.
It's so booby.
For our young listeners who don't have access to the internet, get a copy of Backbeat on VHS and watch it after your parents go to sleep. Set a quiet alarm. And yeah, from like 1 a.m. to 3 a.m., have fun.
Or tonight after Ernest goes to camp, Backbeat makes its Cinemax debut, brought to you by Nivea Spice.
Ian Hart played John Lennon. Gary Bakewell, that's who played Paul. The supporting role, the bit part of Paul McCartney.
Yeah, Paul, apparently the 40th Beatle. I don't understand.
And the fraidiest Beatle, too. He's like Peter Brady or something. And like, well, I don't know about this, guys. I don't know if he should do it.
and he's always wearing a J. Crew tweed jacket. He's dressed like the guy who plays Paul is an extra from Dead Poets Society. I don't understand.
Well, they had to get their wardrobe from somewhere. You know, a lot of productions have a sale after rap. And
in the credit, it goes, wardrobe donated by the cast of Dead Poets Society.
What else we got? Oh, we won't go through them all, but why not? Kai Weisinger played Klaus Vormann. He was fun.
My name is Klaus.
Excuse me? That is the dumbest portrayal of any Beatle. They make Klaus Brian. It's like Klaus is a bit Brian Epstein. He's like a goofy, he's like a silly German. He's like a fucking Hogan's Heroes character. Klaus is ridiculous. It's an insult. Oh, that's Klaus. He designs record covers.
Well, I thought he was very amiable. I enjoyed his presence on screen.
What are you doing over here, Klaus?
I liked your show. You had fun.
Fun? You call that fun?
What do you call it?
I call it 3 days and nights without sleep, mate. I call it too long between drinks. I call it dying for the piss. I call it hard fucking days and nights.
Well, it's better than the John Lennon guy always being like, well, I'm just going to say something sarcastic, and that is humor. But really, It's just sarcasm, and I am no fun. In fact, I'm a temper tantrum throwing asshole. I'm John Lennon. I suck.
He's never funny. Like, they never show the lighter side of John. I much prefer Imagine John Lennon, where at least you get like the sour and the sweet.
Yeah.
Like in this one, it's just like, well, yeah, I am angry. You'd be angry too if you were angry like me.
I will say that's an overall note. I mean, there are attempts at humor, but they're ham-fisted, like non-comedy people doing comedy.
Buddy, Paul doesn't have a buddy moment with John till the last third of the film.
Yeah.
It's all like almost Paul being suspicious. Like, this movie is a direct response to Off the Ground. Treating Paul like a bitch.
Well, it's not his best album,
But you don't treat Paul McCartney like this. The way that Killing Me Softly treats Paul McCartney. For George Harrison has 3 lines, and one of them's a ripoff from Hard Days. There's a couple nice tribute / ripoff moments in this.
Yeah, there's some funny little allusions to Beatle stuff within. Little Easter eggs or whatever the term is.
The Ringo appearance is funny when he's in bed, but what I would say my overarching problem is Mike Mills, who's the best part of REM because he's not whiny. Mike Mills plays some incredible riff and bass.
Yeah,
while
Stuart
Sutcliffe is playing. It's the dumbest thing. Makes no sense.
Yeah, it's crazy how accomplished Stu is compared to the lore. The lore is that, he put his back to the crowd. I'm not sure he did that for, all 8 hours of every night they played in Hamburg ever. I think it's based on that one photograph you see, and his back is to the camera.
And Birth of the Beatles. Birth of the Beatles is how I think of Stu, for better or for worse.
And if you listen to some of those early tapes, I think there's some Fourthland Road tapes circulating with Stu playing, and it is like, he's like a half step off. It sounds like bonkers. And who knows when that was? That might have been before Hamburg and all that, right? See, Hamburg's where they all got their shit together. We really don't know because we don't have any of that. But we do know that he was an artist first, like as a visual artist, painter first. And a musician was like kind of a favor he did to his friend John, his lover friend John.
Yeah, I called this movie Backbeat Mountain.
Yeah, Backbeat Mountain is exactly what this is. The sensual tension between John and Stu is, it's pretty heavy-handed and sprinkled heavily throughout the movie.
A little, and listen, I know you and I are to the left of the left. I am for all of it, but it's a bit heavy-handed.
Yeah.
The insinuations from the beginning are a bit much.
Yeah. And again, we weren't there, but I don't know. The way these guys act and the way they tell it, I wonder about the authenticity of it, despite the fact that Astrid Kirchherr, I believe, was on set for some of this, maybe most of it. I don't know, but I know she was a consultant, I believe, on this. And I want to say Klaus was involved too. I forget.
Well, Astrid Kirchherr was a consultant for Deloitte. She was paid $1.5 million to come in and kind of analyze the production costs and then write a report and do a PowerPoint and buy a summer home.
Yeah. She had a timeshare with Touche, I believe.
Tanto Astrid Kirchherr y Klaus Voormann recibieron un agradecimiento.
Both Astrid Kirchherr and Klaus Voormann received special thanks in the Backbeat credits. However, it was only Astrid who acted as an advisor on the film. It is said that Stephen Dorff's resemblance to Stu Sutcliffe gave Astrid goose pimples. It is also said that Stephen Dorff may have spread other rashes and sores on set, but they have probably worn off by now.
How could Astrid Kirchherr allow the reputation of Klaus Voormann to be true? Yeah, I am a bitch.
Klaus, you're wearing my robe.
Yeah, there's some funny things that happen. I want to get to two more things from the cast. I wanted to
Yes.
mention that George Harrison is played by Chris O'Neill, and Chris O'Neill has a Beatles tribute band called the Backbeat Beatles. So,
Ooh.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see.
there you go. And
Convenient.
Scott Williams is the guy who played Pete Best, and he also played Pete Best in his life, the John Lennon story from 2000. So, typecast.
Pete Best, I know's almost seems to be working out. He's a good bloke, but quiet's and a bit of a loner.
Well, if you know me, Scott Williams, as a person, you'd know that's what I was like anyway. I think that's probably one of the reasons I was cast, because in the audition I just stood aside and they asked me to play the drums and I did.
Well, Tony, I got more trivia for you, my friend. Scott Williams was the sixth man of the 93 championship Bulls. And do you know who played George Harrison's mother?
I do know.
Tell us after this.
It was good old Frida.
Good old Frida!
Good old Frida! Frida Kelly.
I didn't know till I watched the credits. I really didn't.
I didn't know that either.
Beatles fan club secretary Frida Kelly did not appear in Backbeat. It was the actor Frida Kelly, who spells Frida with an I, who played Louise Harrison. IMDb is wrong. P3Z nuts, a coal-powered, artificially intelligent fact-checking robot, am right. This fact-check consumed 7 water bottles, destroyed the ozone layer by 4%, and delayed all postal services by 12 minutes. Have a blessed day.
When you go to rent this, I forget where I rented this, but they show a trailer beforehand, and that's the scene that they show. Frida Kelly talking to the George Harrison character. And I was like, this is a curious choice for a trailer scene. It's them setting off to Hamburg for the first time and her giving him her jam buddies or whatever it was.
Shrimp fajitas.
Yeah, shrimp fajitas. Yeah.
You know, the fans kept throwing shrimp fajitas at us. The sizzling.
Mum?
Yeah.
What is it?
Scones.
Scones?
I've made you some scones.
Mum, they've got food on the ferry, you know.
I know. They haven't got my scones.
I can't take scones. If the lads know you're giving me scones, I'll never hear the end of it. I'm in a rock and roll group, Mum.
So it gets a 68% on Rotten Tomatoes, or tomatoes, in the UK. Roger Ebert gave it 2 out of 4 stars.
His thesis, Tony, I want to talk about the great Roger Ebert. Let's talk about this for a second. Sun-Times critic forever.
Chicago's own. Roger
Ebert would tell anybody who listened to him that A Hard Day's Night was the number 1 or 2 best movie musical ever made. Ebert, in many ways, is a Beatles apologist. His thesis for this in his review is basically, what's the point? Is Stu Sutcliffe's right? Is Stu Sutcliffe's life, does it warrant this hour 45-minute kind of biopic where he is the center narrative? And where I agree with it too, it's like, look, I mean, with no offense to Philip Norman or other places in Beatle history where McCartney's been kind of not honored the way he should be, this movie pays way too little respect to Paul McCartney. And I'm here to say right now, and I certainly don't remember feeling this way 30, 40 years ago, but the disrespect to Paul McCartney is gross. They treat Stu Sutcliffe like he's Paul. I know how close he and John were. We all know the stories, but it just diminishes. If you watch this movie, you think Paul McCartney was one of the pacemakers with Jerry.
It's true. And I think that speaks to this time, 94. It did seem like it was cool to hate on Paul around this time, because of things like Press to Play. And in my opinion, like, for people who wanted to hear things like Nirvana and stuff, Flowers in the Dirt was music for your mom. You know what I mean?
I get it. I totally get it.
So, like, it was, if you were hip and you were cool, it was the dead guys, you know, that were hip and cool, and not the guy, you know, still at it. And he's got a mullet, you know, and he's, you know, The mullet's been dead for some years, Paul. You gotta cut that mullet, but he still got it, you know.
Well, and then he, on a live album, has the audacity to go,
This one's called Biker Like an Icon.
Yeah, they do a biker like an icon. Like he had it. So I'm just saying that this movie came out in that time when it was cool to hate on Paul.
It was a big John period because Paul was doing Pap and John had been gone for almost a decade and a half.
Let's hear here. I got a Paul quote for you. I think this will, and I agree with Paul. One of my annoyances about the film Backbeat is that they've actually taken my rock and rollness off me. They give John the song Long Tall Sally to sing. He's counting songs. And he never sang it. He never sang it in his life. But now it's set in cement. Thank you, Paul. Backbeat is the cement of the Beatles' legacy. He goes on to say, I was quite taken, however, with Stephen Dorff's astonishing performance as Stu. So maybe there was something between Paul and Stu that we don't know about.
In 1993, shortly after Paul saying, "Come on, people," at the Blockbuster Pavilion, Stephen Dorff.
Paul McCartney, the original necromancer.
He's a real necromancer. Tony, I will tell you, again, not to be creepy, but one of the best things about my life is my wife hates this podcast, so I don't have to fear.
I think all of them do.
Hates it is wrong. Doesn't understand it is probably more correct. Supportive of it, but doesn't understand what's happening.
Is that like whenever I visit and she always looks at me and she just says, why?
Why? How come? When does it end?
Why?
But Tony, I've got a retrospective huge crush on Cheryl Lee. I think her performance in this film is stellar. I think she's understated and otherwise ham-fisted film. I don't know how much what else she's done because I stopped watching film and cinema after CBS canceled Sanford and Son, which also aired on NBC. So there's that.
There's that. Yeah. That's true.
But no, I mean, I have a huge crush on Cheryl Lee, and you get breasts, calves, and thighs in this film. This is a Cheryl Lee. This is a Kenny Rogers Roasters Cheryl Lee special.
Yeah. There are little booths, little private booths you can watch Backbeat in, and you can backbeat off to it. You know, and.
So far today, we've said Backbeat Off and Backbeat Mountain.
I can't wait to see what the third one is. Well, let's go through the film and point out some of our favorite moments in no particular order. How about that?
Yes, let's do it.
I know early on there's a big fight scene, where the street thugs kind of pummel poor Stu, and a lot of people believe this is where the brain hemorrhage later killed him from this street brawl. Now, the blood, TJ, that they used is a little orange for my taste, and I don't think they used Dick Smith's original recipe for blood.
Hey, Dick Smith.
By the way, I do have a song on my new album called Dick Smith's Recipe for Blood.
Oh, another plug.
And and here it is real quick. You're going to need 1 quart of white corn syrup, 2 ounces of Eller red food coloring, 5 tablespoons of Eller yellow food coloring, a level teaspoon of methyl paraben, a teaspoon of zinc oxide, and 2 ounces of Kodak Photo Flow. Be careful, that is highly poisonous. Thank you.
Do you know how much Kodak Photo Flow is in Trix cereal? That's why I voted for RFK.
Right.
You have no idea.
And that's why I eat chemtrails cereal every morning.
Chemtrails. Woo!
Chemtrails for kids. And adults. So that was just an observation. The blood was a little orange, TJ.
Okay, but Tony, listen, let's rank the Beatle movie fights. What's more erotic, this one or Steven Tyler and Frampton and
Steven Tyler versus the Bee Gees or whatever that was.
It's Tyler and Frampton both wearing silk
Yes,
pants.
That's right. Yes, silk. Yes, yeah. Well,
weirdest thing. Yeah, I mean, without question. And John What I do? Who's the actor who plays John? Ian Hunter? No, what's his name?
Stand by.
Stop.
Ian Hart.
So Ian Hart, good actor. It's a hard part to play, but I feel
agree.
like whether this is a directing choice or an acting choice, what's so hard about John, Tony, is this guy captures this sardonic, sarcastic part of John, and he nails the smile, but without any of the warmth that underlied all of John's sarcasm.
Or the play.
Or the play, yes.
Yeah. There's no fun. There's no spirit of adventure and
The
playfulness.
Lewis Carroll,
Yeah.
John, yes.
Right. He's still got the chip on his shoulder. You know what it's like, though, man? It's like when you're doing a film about stand-up comedy, and then you have to show the person doing stand-up comedy. And if they're supposed to be good, that's always hard because you're coming in with the expectation. Like, it's the same thing. You're trying to I mean, honestly, that's what's wrong with all biopics, right? Mm-hmm. You're trying to be this person that did exist, and there's lots of footage of them existing, and you've got to try and do all that. And John Lennon is an especially complicated figure, and it's played one note here. I think more along the lines of the script. I'm going to fault the script over the actor on this one. So,
What about the band, Stu?
I've got to get back there, John. I haven't done a stroke since I left.
She thinks I'm queer, Astrid.
Bollocks.
You heard her. She thinks I fancy you.
That's not what she said. What she said was she thinks we love one another.
And what did you say?
I might have grunted.
Can we both agree, though, Marshall Crenshaw over this dude?
What if Beatlemania had like those serious like homoerotic conversations in between songs?
Dude, we need to redo Beatlemania with all the like.
You wanted me to start the song off with the sound of your heart beating against mine. That's too slow for Long Tall Sally.
When I wrote I'm down, it's because I was, going down on John.
Yeah, in the Backbeat booth.
Once me and Ringo went to Shinder's in Minneapolis, we watched Mary Poppins and jerked off in a bucket.
Oh, by the way, Ringo is played by Paul Duckworth.
Who's this? Ringo. Ringo?
Yeah, Ringo.
He's a drummer. He's working up the street. What's he doing in me bed?
Oh, he's very sick, man.
What's wrong with him?
He can't be moved.
That's the original bed-in.
Ringo invented the bed-in, proving that, the Beatles invented everything, but Ringo invented the bed-in.
Fuck you, Al Cap.
We'll talk about the soundtrack, but let's talk about the music for a minute, right? Because that's really what this movie is basically about.
Well, it's interesting that the no Lennon and McCartney originals, I mean, they were pretty true to history for that, but they chose a lot of the covers the Beatles were doing in Hamburg, and with some they would later do on their official albums. But there's 2 points to the music, Tony. There is the soundtrack with the quote-unquote Backbeat band doing these kind of late 50s, early 60s cover tunes. And then there's the Don Was orchestral score and arrangements for this, which are fucking great. It goes from mid 50s jazz to almost Miles Davis, Brubeck. I think the scoring for this, is tremendous. It doesn't feel dated, little ham-fisted at times, but what movie from the 90s doesn't have ham-fisted scoring? I don't begrudge that, but I think musically it's a very strong film.
I agree. Yeah, I think the music sounds good. I mean, it's real crisp and clean, and I'll talk more about that when we do the soundtrack thing. But I do think they captured the energy. It is a movie, so it's not going to be perfect. I'm not going to be like a super sniffer about stuff. I feel like they got a lot of the gear pretty right.
Yeah, the Vox amp even. There were things I know. I'm not a gearhead. Never been to your basement.
Right.
But even I noticed stuff.
Actually, the Beatles did not get Vox amplifiers until Brian Epstein bought them for the group in July of 1962. So come on down to Gearhead's basement to see what they really rocked in Hamburg.
Gearhead's basement.
John used a late 50s Fender Vibrolux, only $5,500.
Vintage tones.
George played through a Tweed Gibson GA40T Les Paul amp, only $4,000.
Mojo for miles.
Want to be a bit player in the world's greatest rock and roll group of all time? Then be like Paul and plug your axe into an El Pico AC55. It's a steal at $1,000.99.
This one goes to 9.
With deals this low, we're practically neighbors with the core of the earth.
Now that's low.
Gearhead's basement, lower level of Mix Field.
Gearhead's basement.
Well, they got things like the Rickenbacker right, and I think they got Stu's Hoffner bass right. It was a big bass. I think they got that right. But anyway, it didn't look like the instruments used in The Birth of the Beatles, where Paul's playing like an upside-down Stratocaster or whatever, you know.
On drums, Mr. Pete Best. On guitar, Mr. Paul McCartney. On bass, recently arrived from the dark side of the moon, Mr. Stuart Stucliffe. And on guitar, Mr. George Harrison. He's only just done Solid Food. My name's Lennon, John Winston Lennon. I was named after Churchill, John Churchill, the wet fish man. My parents were thinking of calling me after my father, but Dad's such a stupid fucking name, don't you think? Thank you, brother.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Good golly, Miss Molly. So likes the ball. Good golly, Miss Molly. So likes the ball.
Another bit I like, TJ, is when Astrid takes the Beatles to the existential bar, the Exy bar, and it's like jazz, homosexuality,
clowns,
man with a shaved head, blue drinks,
Gilbert and Sullivan operetta characters.
Oh, a penis in the background.
It's the original Stefan from SNL bit. This party has everything.
Yeah.
What's this place? It's a club. What does that mean? Hell, sounds promising.
I thought that was fun. I like some of the more overt, like, oh, we're here, and they go over to Astrid's house, and you know, there's like dandy fops in velvet costumes. Like even Klaus is wearing like he looks like he's at the Red Fair.
Klaus looks like he's auditioning for Newsies. Fuck. And buddy, one of the most symbolic things early in the film, before they've established any rapport, John Lennon vomits on Paul McCartney's shoe.
Yeah.
And I wrote, that is the most accurate review of Off the Ground to date.
Is that right, pal? Sorry, missed that. That's sad. You horrible filth.
I love you, Paul. God, I love you, but that album, and I tried so hard to defend it.
This was a hard time. This is that time. Yeah.
I also at this point jotted down, this won the Oscar for Breast Movie of 1994. This is early on. I'm 23 minutes on, like so many boobs.
Yeah.
I'm mad at 20-year-old me for not better appreciating this film's breasts.
I know. I had no idea. Yeah, there's basically a whole montage early on when they arrive in Hamburg, and yeah, you like I said, 412 pairs right there.
And Tony, I mentioned Paul kind of being dressed like he's working for Fidelity Investments. There's also the scene early on where everyone's getting laid but him. He's outside with...
No, I thought that was George, right?
Is that George? Poor George. I couldn't tell.
You are not cold?
Cold, me? No. I don't feel cold.
You, don't want to go inside?
I'd sooner freeze.
Because that's the famous story is that George lost his virginity with the Beatles in Hamburg, like with the Beatles cheering him on, or they at least waited till after he finished before they gave him a round of applause.
Right, but wasn't Paul outside not getting laid?
You know, I'd have to watch it again, and that's just something, TJ, I'm going to break my promise earlier. I just can't do it.
Did I mention how I watch it? I bought the Blu-ray on deep discount, which was priced in between the rental and purchase on Apple TV.
Nice.
So I bought the Blu-ray and I dubbed it, and I ganked the digital file. I'm going to sell it back to Reckless and fucking retire.
I wanted to point out a bit of trivia. Remember when Stu sings Love Me Tender and he's not very good?
Yeah.
Love me tender, love me sweet, never let me go.
Do you know who's actually doing the vocal on that?
I do, and I'm going to let you say it.
We mentioned him not too long ago on the program. Henry Garfield, a.k.a. Henry Rollins.
Henry Rollins.
There you go. That's Rollins. And that's why he gets a thank you in the credits at the end.
It's pretty cool.
Henry from Black Flag.
Another favorite moment, TJ, when Paul is caught on the toilet reading a comic book called Beano.
Yes, which I thought was a precursor to an overrated Peter Gabriel song. Another Paul moment is the first time you hear Paul, he's singing I Remember You. Paul's singing the first ballad of the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember to a distant bell, and the stars that fell like the rain out of the blue.
TJ, that's the George character singing I Remember You, while John plays harmonica in a tutu. Remember, in Backbeat, Paul's songs loom small in his legend.
And again, like Paul said, Long Tall Sally, I have seen millions of versions of the Beatles doing that. When's John on the mic singing lead with Paul? That's enough to make me mad.
Yeah.
However, they make up for it in the credits, so I'll tell you how they make up for it later on.
Okay.
It's addressed later.
I don't know if I misheard this or not, but there's some moment where John and Stu are talking about poetry.
I've been reading these poems. Rambo. He's French.
And John says,
I know Rambo.
I know Rambo.
Yes, I heard that too.
Somewhere in this rugged mountain countryside, possibly above the snow line, shrouded in mist, the fugitive John Rambo is hiding.
Now I understand the homosensual tension that was happening between those two. Well, I know Rambo. He could tie us up with barbed wire.
You know, I met Sylvester Stallone once, and he gave me a back rub. My shoulders have never been better.
Now who's gonna fly now? Who's gonna unzip my fly now?
You know, I met him and I tried to be nice, but in all fairness, he was a little rocky.
All right, what else you got?
I've seen a fair amount of Beatles films, but Tony Sheridan gets so much love in this. It is so funny that the actual one track used, how come they didn't do Cry for a Shadows? The one track they use is the Tony Sheridan Beatles My Bonnie, which of course was on Polydor.
Yes. And that I love it when Stu gets a copy of it, and I took a picture of it, sent it to you, saying like, "Oh, what rare pressing is this?
I want
this
it.
Beatles 45 of the actors of the Beatles, no text, but it said Polydor on the flip. I think, yeah, that was a curiosity.
Come on, Rhino Records, get the fuck to work. Everybody's clamoring for that.
There's a couple other Easter eggs where Stu says to a doctor,
I'm in a band. Play 8 days a week.
Yeah, that was cringy.
We also play Mr. Moonlight. And then if you could, I don't know if you noticed this, but Astrid drives a Volkswagen Beetle.
It's a Beetle, yep.
Okay.
I do love Who's This? And it's Ringo in bed is another funny little moment. Not really an Easter egg. And then the exchange between Astrid and John. Again, I think Sheryl Lee is absolutely incredible. But when Sarah, something they really missed out on, Sheryl Lee / Sarah Lee, when she's developing the photos, why don't they use Darkroom from McCartney 2?
I did think of that song every time. In the darkroom.
Come along with me to my dark room.
And one of my least favorite lines is, Klaus designs record covers.
Klaus designs record covers.
And then in my version of this, Klaus pulls out a mock-up of Anthology 2.
Now, I've read, Tune In, and I've read various other accounts of the Beatles' early career. I never remember hearing about Stu collapsing during a competitive game of limbo with Felicia Rashad.
First off, that scene is my least favorite Cosby Show montage. And second of all, while we're at Beatle myths, help me with this, Tony, because you've read the first Tune In. I haven't because I #can't read. But Tony, did a rep from Polydor come to watch the Beatles and then leave because Stu was singing Love Me Tender? I don't believe that happened.
I'm pretty sure that did not happen, but we don't know. I don't think it happened that way. And it would also be weird because then the guy from Polydor would be hearing Henry Rollins singing it, and then he'd be like, "Oh, sign him." That's the guy that did Liar.
But I just want his spoken word shit. Yeah. Don't let him record the music.
Yeah. I am Rattus Norvegicus. I'm sitting in some shithole rat's nest, and I'm a little angry. I wanted to be a talk show host, not a rat.
95% of my cool cred comes from my roommate at Drake, Chris Haraski, drummer of Explosions in the Sky, who exposed me to all this stuff while I was trying to explain to him why the Single of Hope of Deliverance was Paul's best work since London Town.
All right. Well, also speaking of what I wrote down, what the fuck is this scene? It's the lighthouse stuff at the end, and it's like Astrid and John's heart to heart, because there's been tension between them through the whole film, right?
Yeah, what the fuck? They're great acting, but I don't understand any of it.
Tell me something, John Lennon. When you are rich and famous, when you are number one, when your name is in lights and everybody wants to be your friend, when somebody asks you, do you remember Astrid in Hamburg, what will you say?
I'll say she was the girl I always wanted. The girl of my dreams. Like Bridget Bardot with better manners. I might have fallen in love with her. But she fell in love with my best friend.
Well, and then in the Blu-ray copy, you know what he says afterwards?
What's that?
And it all turned out just fab.
Another one real quick thing, we never hear the name The Beatles. I feel like the first time I hear it is an hour and 19 minutes into the film. Is that accurate?
I wasn't playing the Name the Beatles drinking game, Tony. I didn't count. I do believe you. I wanted to mention as well a couple things that caught me. I love when Stu says,
"You've made me look like Klaus."
Oh, right, with the haircut.
I love the weird scene with Paul and John starting to fight about whether John thinks Paul called him gay.
What is it between you two?
What is it?
Yeah, what's going on?
Are you saying I'm a queer? Is that what you're saying?
Look.
You saying I'm a fucking fairy? Is that what you're saying?
George goes, he never said you were a fairy.
Never said you were a fairy.
Right.
And
one of George's 3 lines.
Right, and Pete Best breaks up the fight when he goes, for Christ's sake, just leave it alone.
For Christ's sake!
You just leave it alone. He spoke.
Did Dick Clark bring Pete Best in to be an advisor to this film too? I didn't understand the Pete Best role.
I think Pete Best liked Backbeat. I'm pretty sure because his drumming was good, and no one was talking about what a daft drummer he was or whatever. I did like though that when they went back to England, after their first stint in Germany, that Pete Best character got his pompadour heightened. instead of going more artsy.
Yeah. And Tony, you mentioned Easter eggs. Another one when which character goes, I'm in a band, I play 8 days a week.
That Stu said that. Famously, Stu said that.
That was Stu said that. And then he says, slow down.
Oh.
And also, question. In real life, did Stu hug Cynthia mid-lovemaking to John?
I mean, we'd have to consult with Astrid and Deloitte and Touche at their timeshare, and maybe we'll do a live, a live satellite broadcast from Astrid and Touche's timeshare.
It's Gluck and Fro from Astrid and Touche. Tony, another big thing here. I don't know if you know the director of this film, Killing Me, Ian Softly.
Right.
Huge Jimmy Buffett fan. That's why 9 times John Lennon goes, I'm a son of a sailor.
I'm a sailor. I'm the son of a sailor. I'm the son of a sailor's son.
As the son of a sailor, I went.
Also, buddy, when fucking Stu goes nuts, you talk about blood. When Stu goes nuts, it's bloodier than the James Gandolfini, Patricia Arquette scene in True Romance.
Yeah, it looks like an Unsane album cover that uses like crime scene photos for their album covers. Yeah, that was one where I'm like, did this happen? Did Stu actually attack Klaus? Like, I don't know. I don't remember hearing about that one.
You do it to Klaus. You'll do it to me.
You're making a mistake.
Fuck you!
Klaus is made again. I don't know who Klaus is made out to be, just like a wafy orphan.
I mean, there is that picture of him back in the Exy days where he dresses like an elf, so like
Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Tony, we got to talk about how it ends when they give the little words that say
the postscript. Yeah, right.
The postscript. A couple questions for you. Were Stu's paintings highly acclaimed?
I mean, yeah. Well, his legacy is a highly acclaimed collection of paintings that has been exhibited all over the world. I say, why not? The guy's dead. It's not hurting anyone to say. What should it say?
I'm not judging. I'm like this show's McAfee. I'm just asking the questions.
Yeah, his legacy is okay. I don't know. The internet isn't really happening yet. I don't know. Figure it out.
Okay, Tony, let me ask you this. According to the film, Pete Best left the Beatles?
Yeah, that same year, Pete Best left the Beatles and was replaced by Ringo Starr. I mean, he did leave them, more accurately, the Beatles left him. You're right.
Yeah, Pete Best like, guys, I don't want to do it anymore. My mom's got a coffee club. The McCartney-Lennon song, I Want to Hold Your Hand, sold 13 million. So they apologized to Paul in the postscript.
That's interesting. Yeah, I noted that because I was like, Love May Do is McCartney-Lennon, right? Isn't originally, I think?
That and P.S. I Love You, I think, yeah.
Yeah. And then it became Lennon-McCartney for the most part. So
yeah, not I Want to Hold Your Hand.
No.
That's never been McCartney-Lennon except in this film. And you know what it's missing, Tony?
What's that?
Ringo Starr would become a Monte Carlo drunk and make lots of money as a train conductor for children.
I got one of those too because Paul was not mentioned in the postscript. After the Beatles' breakup in 1970, Paul McCartney became the manager of Wings, a popular fried chicken eatery in the Dingle.
AI does Backbeat. Oh, in the credits, one of the groupies early is Galt Hershkovitz, and I'm in love. So how many fabs, Tony? We'll do the soundtrack next. But how many fabs do you give the movie?
Let's see. There's 5 fabs. I am going to give it 2.5. 2.5 fabs. I think that the music was good, and I think that they committed to the the instruments and trying to get things right as far as the way the aesthetic is. I think they did a pretty successful job with that. Yeah.
Tony thinks the music's good. We're going to have to listen next week because I might dissent. This might be Tony's favorite grunge album.
No.
I'm Tony. I like Backbeat and In Utero. 2 fabs because I'm a fucking rocker.
I'm a roll runner, honey. Beep, beep.
It all turned out just fab.
Untitled Beatles podcast. Like and subscribe.